Welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs, bringing you interviews with elite business leaders and experts, sharing tips and strategies for elevating your business to the next level. Here's your host, Mike Saunders.
Hello and welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs. This is Mike Saunders, the Authority Positioning Coach. Today we have back with us Christina Lael, who's the tax attorney with Freedom Tax Plans, and we will be discussing how to correctly set up a business entity to maximize tax savings. Christina, welcome back to the program.
Thank you, Mike. So glad to be here again.
Well, I think that there's always these things that, if we went deeper on the other conversation, then we start getting into the weeds. And so we want to kind of keep these nice and clear and concise. And this topic that we're going to talk about today is so important, I feel, because so many times people think, I'm going to start my business, so I'm going to go and just set up as whatever, right? Oh, sole prop. Or I'm going to Google how to do this and fill out this form online and I'm good to go. And in reality, that might be fine, but is it fine good enough? And your whole focus in life is helping business owners maximize their tax savings and get as much as they can reduced so they pay as little in taxes. And one of the aspects is business entity setup. So get us started with what people should know about business entity setup.
Oh, yes, Mike. And this is so important and so fundamental, especially when whether you're starting a business right away or whether you've had a business for a long time or whether you're making money yet or not quite making a net profit. I mean, the way you set up your business and tax it is just so important for saving money in taxes and not needlessly sending and losing money, sometimes thousands, tens of thousands of dollars of money that you're paying in taxes that you really didn't have to pay, and you could have kept in your bank account at the end of the year. So what I see a lot of people do is when they first create a business, they either incorporate it or create an LLC, but it's still taxed as a sole proprietorship if they're like a single member LLC. Or even if they don't incorporate and they just start a business and they file as a Schedule C, which would be a sole proprietorship, the problem with that, Mike, is that in addition to all the other taxes that they're paying, federal taxes, possibly even state income taxes, if you are a sole proprietorship, then you're paying self-employment taxes, which is, that's 15.3% on the first $147,000 that you make in profit, and then 3% on any money that you make above that limit. There's no ceiling. I mean, you could make $1 million and you'd be paying self-employment taxes on that entire amount of profit. Wow. If you're just a sole proprietorship. So it's just so important how your entity is taxed. And a common misconception is that, and people don't realize, is that the way your business is registered with the state, usually with your Secretary of State, that can be different than how it's actually taxed. And then that's where I get involved in my strategies to help you reduce those taxes. And a lot of times, and most of the time, you don't even have to change how it's registered with the state. You just have to change how it's taxed to save you money in taxes.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, someone might hear, I should not be a sole prop, I should be this. And so they set it up that way, but then the state you need to have your tax filing status congruent with your state filing status. With the state setup.
It doesn't even have to be congruent.
Okay.
The way you register your business with the state, and that's for liability protection. Okay. And sometimes you have certain state taxes that you have to pay depending on how you register it with the state. And again, that's for liability protection, so that you're separating your business and your business assets from your personal assets, so that if someone were to sue you, hopefully not, but in today's age and in America, you can sue anyone for any reason with no repercussions whatsoever, even if it's completely frivolous, unfortunately. So if someone were to sue you and you weren't incorporated or you weren't registered with your state correctly, they could go after your personal assets as well as your business assets. So your home and your savings and I mean, any your cash that you have in your savings account, even what you have maybe even set up for your kids. So that you definitely want to do that. So when you register your business for your state, that is primarily for liability protection. So if someone were to sue you, then that would be separate. Your business assets would be separate from your personal assets, which is very important. If you've ever talked to anybody who has been sued, which I knew a friend of mine years ago that this happened to before they were incorporated. And it ended up being okay, but she was sweating bullets until that suit was satisfied. And boy, as soon as she learned about that, she registered it. Her husband was actually in construction and hadn't registered their business with their state. So the people that sued them went after their business assets and their personal and assets. And she had a large inheritance that was at risk. So once they found that out, they immediately, registered their business with the state, and then they were able to settle the lawsuit so she didn't lose all her inheritance. But registering with the state protects your business from your personal assets. But then there's a different way that you may have it taxed as per the IRS. And then there may even be a different way of how it's taxed at the state level, because some states don't recognize certain entities that the way that they're taxed. So for example, if you elect to be taxed as an S corporation, which a lot of your listeners may know that if you elect to be taxed as an S corporation, then your business pays you a salary, a reasonable salary, which that's something we can talk about. And that's what we help our clients with, to determine that to be reasonable, but to be as low as possible, because when you're an S corporation or taxed as an S corporation, it's your salary that determines how much self-employment taxes you have to pay instead of your entire profit.
Yes.
You can see how that would save you money in taxes. Well, some states at the state level, they don't recognize entities that are taxed as an S corporation. Tennessee is a great example. Tennessee, where I'm from, Nashville, Tennessee. If you can't tell by my accent, where I was raised and where I started my business, and where I'm from, they don't recognize an S corporation, and they heavily tax S corporations. So I even just had a client that came to me recently, and in Tennessee, and they were set up as an S corporation. And I said, well, that's fine, but we need to set up something else, another type of entity, because you're getting killed. You may be saving some taxes and federal taxes, but then Tennessee is coming back in and wiping away a lot of that savings and taxing you a lot because it doesn't recognize an S corporation. And that's true in several states, and maybe they may recognize it, but there may be some things that you have to do for your state to recognize it to be taxed as an S corporation. So it can be a little complicated.
Yeah, it sounds
like it. But
it.
the amount of taxes that you're going to save when done correctly.
And once you set it up, then it's just, okay, now we just got to maintain these entities or these, putting the money in the right spot. So it's like, okay, you need to know that going in, but once it's set, okay, cool. So if I'm hearing you correctly, you got to register with the state for the protection side of things. So if you're an LLC, so you want to separate personal and professional in your business. So that's that, but you're not done yet. If you want to maximize your tax deductions and limit your taxes as much as possible, because just being registered, that's just wonderful. That checks one box, but now is where the hard part, fun part, strategic part comes in to go, okay, now we need to look at your tax burden and see how much we can reduce it by doing some of these strategies, which are all fully endorsed by the IRS tax code. Just most people don't know it.
Exactly. You are exactly right. Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, I guess I should, for me, it's like, okay, you live in that world and you understand all that. But for me to be able to repeat that back and go, okay, the common person is hearing you say that. And if I'm repeating it back to you and I got it right, okay, good. Then I've understood it and you've made it really, really clear. So I think that's a really big piece that people just don't realize is setting up your entity. Typically, you're going to go, okay, I'm going to go fill out this form online and be a sole prop. Yay. And then I'm going to move to, I heard that you should protect personal and professional, so I'm going to go to an LLC. But then all of a sudden it's like, well, then there's S Corp and C Corp and then taxed as and pay. It just becomes this whole thing that, come on, I build houses, or come on, I'm a consultant, or come on, I make, wedding cakes. I don't know all that stuff. So how do you make sure that you're set up the right way? Well, you talk to someone like yourself, but what do you normally see is the trigger for some business owner to move from one type of entity to another?
Great question. So it really depends on their situation because they may not even want to elect to be an S corporation. There's actually another type of entity where we can set them up as a partnership. And there's ways that you can save money in self-employment taxes that way and also utilize other tax saving strategies. And another thing that we do a lot for our clients, Mike, and create for them and implement for them is maybe they are already taxed as an S corporation or a C corporation, but what we want to do is create a separate entity for them that has other tax saving advantages. And so maybe we do want to create a management company because and this is what I do for a lot of my clients, because you're a business owner, you wear different hats. If you're in construction, you're not constantly just providing construction work. You're also managing the business, you're managing customers, employees, you're learning about the business. If you're listening to this podcast, what you're doing right now is a great example of managing your business and learning more how to manage your business or how to even market your business. So a lot of times what we do, Mike, which is very helpful in saving money in taxes, is creating a separate entity to represent the management and marketing services that you're already providing to your company as a business owner. And what that does is because we create it as a different entity, there's pros and cons to every entity.
Yeah.
And different tax advantages to each entity. So we want to take advantage of every advantage of each type of entity. And that's why you hear a lot, or you read a story in Forbes, or you hear somebody very successful. They usually just don't have one company. They have like at least two, sometimes three or more, because for each entity, there are different tax advantages.
Okay.
And even if you're a small company, you can still get a lot of advantage and save a lot of money and stop losing so much money in taxes every year by doing that correctly. And that's what we do for our clients.
So you may look at a company and they might come to you and say, okay, just ask me. I don't even know what to tell you. Just ask me questions. And you're like, okay, well, what kind of entity, how you set up? And okay, now tell me about your business, whatever your questions would be. You're listening to them explain all of their details through the ears and experience of, the tax code and all of your legal tax attorney knowledge. And then you can come back and go, okay, well, what you're telling me is that you guys are doing this. And now you as the owner, are you ever doing this and this and this? Oh, yeah, we do that. Okay, good. And then you as an owner, do you ever have this in the business? And you're asking these questions to then go, okay, well, if we just set this up and then set it up this way and then had this piece under this piece, and then you just put money in through here, you're doing the same thing you're doing every day. It's just that you're funneling it from one to the next before it gets to the end result. And it kind of gets back to what we talked about previously, which is let's not outlay more cash or do more work. Let's just optimize what you're already doing. And poof, lo and behold, you've got more deductions without outlaying more money. So am I correct in that thinking of you would be able to kind of assess and ascertain what this business owner is already doing and make recommendations based on what they've already got in place?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, absolutely. And Mike, whether I work with somebody one-on-one, I have specific questions several questions that I am asking them. Or if they decide to, which we can talk about later, my Freedom Tax Plan program, where for any business owner to save money in taxes and stop losing so much money in taxes. Every year, there's specific questions that program actually asks each person who signs up for it. And those questions are designed to find out one of the best, how to set up your entity and how to have it taxed, and possibly even just very easily set up a second entity and take advantage of those tax saving strategies to help you save money in taxes. So again, like you said, you're not spending more money to save money in taxes. Yeah. You're just taking what you're already doing, optimizing it to help you stop losing so much in money that you're paying out needlessly to excess taxes.
And, I'm listening to this through my, uneducated ears of just being a podcast host going, hey, Christina, this sounds amazing, but come on now. Right. So, we've all seen the movies of, shell corporations and 19 versions of this company. And now you're just moving money around and it becomes this whole phantom, smoke and mirrors thing. That's not what we're talking about, right? We're talking about saying, hey, here's what the IRS affords business owners. If you have this alongside this and underneath the umbrella of your company, then you're just doing all the right things according to the tax code. It's just that the typical business owner barely is able to, make sales and pay their employees, much less find out strategic ways to maximize.
Right, exactly. Yeah, we are not doing anything crazy, nothing that would be in the movies. We're not setting up some kind of offshore accounts or, doing anything in Puerto Rico. So yeah, very simple things that we do. And usually it's just maybe one other entity that we need to set up for a client and or perhaps change the way that their business is being taxed. Again, not necessarily how it was created with the state. That's usually just fine, but how it's taxed at the federal level, make sure that works with the state, if not making a few tweaks, and then possibly creating maybe one other entity for them. And it's all very, very simple.
Well, and I know that you mentioned your Freedom Tax Plan, which is your online training. Talk a little bit about how that is something that for the person that just goes, hey, look, I'm kind of savvy, so just kind of guide me. What does that program afford to them?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So Freedom Tax Plans, freedomtaxplans.com is a program that I created, one of a kind program that not only shows you the strategies, tax saving strategies that you need to implement, but implements them for you. So all you do is watch a few very brief videos and then answer some very simple questions about your business and a little bit about yourself. And it tells you exactly what you need to do and produces any forms, documents, or simple instructions to implement all the strategies that are relevant depending on your specific situation. So these are strategies that so many business owners are utilizing to save money in taxes who may have their personal tax attorney in their back pocket. So this is a program I created so that any business owner could use it to save money in taxes at just a ridiculously low price.
I love ease. I love support. I love guarantees. And I know that you have a guarantee on this where if it doesn't, I guess talk about it, but where's the risk involved if you're going to guarantee that it'll work for me?
Right. Yeah, there's no risk. Actually, if there's any risk, it's on me. Because what I do is I guarantee it like 110%. So if you don't save in taxes the very first year, at least the cost of the program for you, then I give you back 110%. So not just what you pay, but even extra, because I know it's going to work for you. And it's just such an amazing program. And there's so many people and business owners taking advantage of it successfully. And I just want all business owners to be able to take advantage of it at a very, again, ridiculously low price, 110% guarantee. We have the videos, we have all the implementation, and we also have full email support and a weekly Q&A that people can take advantage of. So we still are there to help them through it all.
Well, see, I think that is something that I think would be very helpful to people to go, okay, you're going to tell me that I can do it on my own time, watch some videos, good. And then based on what I've put in as far as my personal business, you're going to, pop up some guidance and forms and say, here's all you need to do. That's awesome. But then I'm wondering, did I do it right? Or am I interpreting this the right way? So yeah, I can send an email in, but I can jump on a weekly live Q&A. Now we're talking. And that's with yourself or your team or both. How does that weekly Q&A work?
Both. Yeah. Usually I'm available. If for some reason I'm not, my team is always available. So we do whatever it takes to help our clients who have signed up for it, but they've just had tremendous success with it and have just stopped losing thousands of dollars every year, which has been incredible.
Well, I love it. And I think this is just perfect timing. We all need to save a penny or two. So what is the best way that someone can reach out and learn more about the program and take advantage of it, Christina?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Just go to Freedom Tax Plans, freedomtaxplans.com. That's plural. And if you click on podcast listener, then there's some free webinars you can actually take that really goes into the program and some tax saving strategies that savvy business owners are taking advantage now and that you could as well. And then you could sign up for the program, or you can even schedule a meeting with me if you would like to work with me one-on-one. So it's just a great resource, freedomtaxplans.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming back on. It's been a real pleasure getting some of these questions clarified on entity setup. So thank you for coming on, Christina.
Oh, thank you, Mike.
You've been listening to Influential Entrepreneurs with Mike Saunders. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.influentialentrepreneursradio.com.